What are you building, Stark?
I'm working on something big.
Hi everybody and welcome to my review of Iron Man. I went into this movie without a lot of prior knowledge, which is not something I like to do on a regular basis, but only because Iron Man is probably one of the few Marvel superheroes that I did not have very much of an interest in when I was younger. My knowledge of him is probably limited to his appearances on the animated Spider-Man television show, and I think that definitely made this movie kick even harder than it would have, only because I didn't have the distraction of the seemingly endless list of things that they probably got wrong compared to the comic book. Then again, since I really don't know, they could have gotten everything down completely perfectly. But just going from experience, anything that's transferred from any other medium, they find the need to take these little things that don't have anything to do with the storyline and just change them enough so that the fans walk out of there going, what the heck was that? There was no reason to change that. And there are examples of this method working out really well, and ones of it just failing miserably. An example of a good one would be them taking the movie Doom, and instead of being Hellspawn, they changed it into a disease. But I mean, it worked out. It's a movie. You're not going to have the 15-20 hours you need, like in the game, to explain the whole thing. One where it didn't work out too well is where they took one of my favorite books, I Am Legend, and they went from being the world is infested with vampires to the world is infested with 23 days later kind of zombies, and they just it really destroyed the whole movie for me, in my opinion. I'd much rather watch The Last Man on Earth. But this is a review of Iron Man, not of I Am Legend, so we can continue on with that. Without these little distractions of knowing things that were probably wrong, I could really sit back and just without thinking very much enjoy this movie. It was, in the first place, an action movie, and while I do enjoy a good action movie, from time to time at least, action movies without plot have a tendency to be very uninteresting and throw a lot of stimulus at you but not really grip you. This is not one of those movies. This is an action movie with plenty of plot. There's more plot than action in this movie, actually, but it's enough of a balance that you don't get bored with the plot, but that you aren't completely drowning in action. Now, what really made this movie for me was Robert Downey Jr. playing Stark and Iron Man, because he made the part. If it had been anybody else, I probably would have been half as good. He's quick on the sarcasm, quick on the little quips. It's just really funny. If this movie had lost the humor in it, it probably would have been half the movie that it actually was. There's so much humor in this movie that it really made the experience, along with the action and the plot. And I was impressed with his performance because, I'll be completely honest, the only thing I knew about Robert Downey Jr. before this movie was that he did time for drug possession. I'm not familiar with his other movies. I'm not familiar with his acting ability, but I can definitely say that he was made to play Tony Stark, and he was definitely the best part of the movie. You'll hate him at the beginning, but you'll love him by the end. And speaking of characters that you hate, go to that movie, see the Vanity Fair girl, and tell me that you don't hate her by the end of the movie. You'll see what I'm talking about when you see it. If you've already seen it, you know what I mean. She pisses me off. I give Iron Man a 5 out of 5. And I'd like to close out with some of these little quips that I was talking about by Tony Stark, as shown by the promo. Hope you enjoy.
Yeah, I can fly.
Mr. Stark, you've been called the Da Vinci of our time. What do you say to that?
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't paint.
What do you say to your other nickname, the Merchant of Death?
That's not bad.
I prefer the weapon. You only need to fire once. That's how Dad did it. That's how America does it. And it's worked out pretty well so far. To peace.